So, moving on, what role does storytelling have in reading and writing?
It has a big role to play. So I think we are all storytellers. And there's something I read about recently is that when you tell a story, any kind of information, and you're telling it as a story, it sticks. So when you are telling them a story, they relate to it. It sparks off their imagination, their creativity. They start thinking beyond. So all of the storytelling is very important for building language.
And storytelling is language. It is rich language you're listening to. You're seeing them enacted, the thoughts, the expressions a storyteller has. You're looking at the face of the storyteller, and then you are saying, oh, happy. And if you're saying happy and you give a smile, what connections these 2-year-olds are making? That is the main thing.
That is a fabulous, I think, mode of education for not just for younger children, even for the older children.
Absolutely.
I've been to a couple of sessions when I've seen the parents as engrossed as children in what the storyteller has.
They just capture your interest. We used to have in tribal areas, we have those, what they call pala. Pala is they dance and they sing and they recite. This has been happening over years and centuries. So storytelling is nothing new. And people have just grown up with, before the books came, it was a storytelling, sitting under the tree and listening to stories. And the knowledge came from there.
Yes. And like Kavita was asking, how does it build? There are lots of skills that you can incorporate in storytelling. Right from, as we said, building vocabulary, from teaching them different story elements. And all of this it really helps the kids to also then convert it into the books, be able to.
I think that aspect of storytelling also brings out their ability to connect with their emotions, put sort of language and emotions together. That's brought out very well through storytelling.
Yes, true.
So you said storytelling elements. At what age do you think you can start talking about storytelling elements versus just listening to a story, enjoying the story?
I think by 3, the 2.5, 3, the kids understand quite a bit. So there are lots of things that you could ask when you're reading out a story. So who do you think is the main character? Who was, what was the problem in the story? Well, we are going to kind of pitch in and, kind of help them out with it. But there are a lot of different conversations that you can have with them. There are a lot of discussions that can go. It can be a simple book that you are reading to them, but still through storytelling. For example, let us say Little Red Riding Hood, which is very, very popular, and you start very young. You're going to tell them a story with a different voice modulation, tell them which are the parts which are actually going to, kind of get them thinking. But what are the different skills that you're talking? So who was this character who was there throughout the story? It was Little Red Riding Hood. And who did she meet? So who was, the wolf? There's so much conversation happening over there. Of course, when they get a little older and think there was a problem in the story, do you think that there was a problem in the story? And then comes that she wasn't listening to her mom and she spoke to a stranger and then she went. So it depends on the age group that you are talking to. What is it that you want to focus?
So what you're saying is when you're reading a book to a child, whether it's you just reading or storytelling, discussing about the book is as important as reading the book itself.
Absolutely. You need to discuss the book with them. You need to talk to them. So let us say you're talking to a 2.5-year-old and then you're reading the same book, or let's say 3 Little Pigs as well. So you can talk about, so what animals are these? And then you talk about the pigs and then the wolf and how many of these pigs are there. There are 3. So you're bringing number skills.
You're engaging with the
the
book. You're engaging with the book. The child has to be engaged with the book. My takeaway here is you use the elements of storytelling. We are not expecting them to memorize those. There's this character they're setting. Yeah. The more I say, the character Red Riding Hood, somewhere down out of the 10, at least 5, 6 will get it now. Some will get it later. And when they hear it next time, the same word being used, they make those connections. So without actually learning and memorizing or story elements are character, setting, plot.
Yeah.
They are being naturally introduced to them. So Red Riding is an amazing character,
Yeah.
It is how.
Your question about discussing the story, you can also discuss in a way where you relate it to their experiences at home. So if it's about 3 Little Pigs, then you talk about what kind of a house you live in. Do you think the wolf can come and blow down your house? So they start thinking. They probably would say no, but because our house is built on bricks, so it will not fall down. So you can connect it to real life experiences also.
No, I think that's fabulous and something we should all do a little more. Discuss those books, because sometimes we also see it as a chore.
Yeah.
20 minutes of reading. Okay, we're done. Let's go to bed because we're tired at the end. Right?
And that's why when you read, you're stopping. You're stopping many times. And you hold the book where you're showing the kid the pictures, They are looking at it. You don't read to yourself. They are looking at it. They're picking up things. Their eyes are roving on the book. You could point out also.
So I'm going to ask this question to both of you again. How does a parent read to their child?
You mean physically? What should be the right thing?
Yeah, with enthusiasm, with excitement. Every time you pull out a book saying that I really love this book, it depends on the age also. You're going to talk and your conversations are going to be according to their age appropriate. But yes, with a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of discussions as well.
Got it.
Yeah.
And as you said, Ms. Jyotsna.
I would, whatever Uma said, I agree with her. And if I'm lying down and reading, the child is next to me, not on another pillow. The same pillow can be in the crook of my arm, depending on how old it is. I'm sharing the book. I'm not reading. The book is not mine. He can also hold the book if the letters are large enough for you to read. Yeah, the child can hold the book and you can read together and start pointing. And especially if there are pictures, stop at that page. What is this kid doing in this picture? You can do it before, like a prediction. What do you think is going to happen now in the story? Or you can do it after. What happened? You can change. The more interaction and engagement you have, the more the child is going to learn and assimilate what he or she is hearing.
So I have an instance and I want you to tell me what you think of it. So whenever I read to my child, she chooses the book sometimes. And when she chooses the book, that book is something we've probably read 20 or 30 times. And she's at an age where she's starting to read right now. So she will look at it, look at the sentences, and she can read. But what she will do, she will, I don't know, those exact sentences seem to come out of her mouth and her head, maybe because she's heard it so many times. She just keeps telling me word to word on what's on the book, but somehow I don't think she's reading at all.
If you had been pointing to the words and reading to them, it can be automatic recognition as well, which happens with sight words, and she notes. And because it's repetitive, this is a dog, the next one is like, I see a boy climbing a tree, I see a bird climbing flying. It depends on the pattern in which the book is going and the repetition. And she's seen you read aloud to you so many times, so then she's probably, getting it out of memory and she knows exactly
and it's
how
okay.
Yeah, it is okay, absolutely.
There you go, Amma, I've read the book and I don't know if it's right or if it's wrong. I just know that a 5-year-old's outwitted me.
And also remember, you didn't ask her to memorize it. It was not, she has memorized it, which is natural. Shows that she has a skill. In fact, it's a great skill that she has, that she's listening. She's listening and remembering and able to tell again. That is beautiful.
Interesting. So when I choose the book, she doesn't agree to read that book. She's like, why don't we read this? So that's a ongoing, I wouldn't say battle, but it's a little bit of a thing we have between us.
You will have to casual her in a way. Okay, let's do it like this. We read this and then what Mama chooses, Mama will read.
Or you can have particular days. So today, Monday, Wednesdays and Fridays that you will choose the book, and the other days I will choose the book for you. Yeah, you can do that also.
Something like Ms. Jyotsna said something about the book struck a chord with her, that she wants to go back to the same book over and over again.
So I would like to add something interesting to this, which I read about, and this is creating print awareness. Even understanding when you're reading a book, that you're actually reading from a book and what you're reading. So there's an interesting story about this dad who was reading to his daughter. For every single day, he would read to her and she would be so happy and excited to read, and they would sit and hold the book together and he was reading. And one fine day he was reading and her hand was there, a thumb was, covering one of the words. And his father, he said, you have to move your hand. And she didn't understand what he was talking about. And then he realized that she didn't understand that it was those words is what he was converting into the story and reading it out. Then realized it. So he had to go back and point to the words, to say that these are the words that I'm actually reading to you, which the child did not actually
Lovely.
make that connection. She just thought she was looking at the pictures in awe and thought her father was just making up these stories, but she was not making the connection that the print was the one that was written there, the father was reading aloud. So the print awareness, creating print awareness is very important. Like you were asking, holding the book, saying, let me talk. This is the cover page. This is the title. It says the cat or whatever it says over there. Right. Pointing to the words so that they understand that it is these words that they are.
And this is what brings me back to the importance of storytelling. The storytelling begins even before the story reading begins. When parents are telling short stories, and the mouse came and, those kind of things. When we are there making them wear the socks or when we are trying to feed something. These are the storytelling moments. Then we start reading. We can't just start, reading. I wonder if the kids even understand that the father or the mother is reading from a book and there's a, what's happening. So I think just even having those touch books. You have the touch books where the color and the fruits and all are there and the noise, the sounds they make. Yeah. Kids love it. You begin with those one word on a page kind of a thing, or those one of the letters of the alphabet, whatever you choose to do. But the storytelling and listening to stories starts earlier, even when you're humming to them and.
That's beautiful, right? We don't think of parents humming to their children or singing lullabies to their children or just all those stories to just make them read some story. We don't think of all of that as a foundation, but they clearly are. Right?
And there's sometimes no sense in what we are saying because we are sort of run out of ideas and we are just making it up as we are feeding or dressing them up or things like that.